Hello everyone, welcome to the bottom of the barrel that is YouTube. Today I am your host, another 20-something-year-old person who wants to tell you their opinion on movies. Today I thought I'd do that with our star review system. I thought I'd start off by telling you guys what my 5-star system exactly is. So, I call it WASP with a silent V. So W starts for writing. That's where any good movie starts, is on the page. After that is acting, those who bring what's written down to life for us. And then once we get in there, I start talking more about sound, visuals, and then just how I personally feel about the movie. I thought I'd start by reviewing Nosfuratu, the last movie I watched of 2024. I thought it would be a good one to start with because it's also an adaptation, and I wanted to take adaptations into account when I review a movie. So, just it as a movie by itself, let's start with writing. Writing wise, I really enjoyed the movie, but I think I can only give it a half star because, other than the book Dracula, they aren't doing a whole lot. And if it were straight up Dracula, that might be a good thing, but this is always supposed to be slightly different. I like the way Robert Eggers puts it about how it's more of a fairy tale version of the story of Dracula, but I wouldn't say the writing in the movie really knocked my socks off. Acting, easy gold star. I will say at first I didn't know how I felt about Lily Rose Depp, but by the end of the movie, her physicality, what she brought to the role. Nicholas Hoult is kind of a little forgettable in the movie, but that's because his only job is to be terrified, and in that he does really well. You feel the tension in him. Willem Dafoe is Willem Dafoe, man. I'll pretty much watch whatever he's in, except Antichrist, because my friend told me not to. I will say, I enjoyed the performances of Aaron Taylor-Johnson and the woman from Deadpool and Wolverine. I thought they added great depth to the world that we're living in and how each of these members of society are interacting with each other. Even the dad from The Witch, Skarsgård as Nosferatu or Count Orlok, is a haunting presence. I think his voice is one of the most distinctive things about the entire movie, and you'll probably hear that in a lot of reviews. It sounds like he's gargling marbles, and I can't help but love it. Sound design, I think, isn't... I keep going back to how much the noises of the lighthouse rang in my head for weeks after I watched that movie, where I'm having a hard time remembering any score or anything outside of no. Kind of sounds like he's about to bring in his father from Dune. The personal aspect of my reviews just comes down to how I feel. And that is going to be different for every single person. So, and that's kind of why I like it, is I made 4 very objective, kind of, everyone will argue whether I think the imagery in Texas Chainsaw Massacre is perfect for the world that they were building, but it's not like a visually pleasing thing. So everyone's going to go back and forth on whether writing, acting, sound, visuals, all those things are subjective, but to a point. I mean, no one's going to watch The Room and be like, that's perfect imagery. So the personal part, I usually like to weigh out some of the other things. So say I don't really love the soundtrack, but I really dug the movie. That's how all of it kind of balance out. So, and also that's why no 4 or 3-star movie is exactly like another 4 or 3-star movie. And that's kind of the end goal of all these reviews, is to eventually get there. So, personally, I love this movie. I'm going to be probably rewatching it every now and then for Halloween. And I'm not the biggest Dracula guy, so I'm not replacing Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula. Or even a Bela Lugosi Dracula. Well, I know of those and I love that they're around. I just don't care. So now we get to the end aspect of how all these should work together. And in addition, I want to add for adaptations a thumbs up or thumbs down. Is it a good adaptation? And I didn't read the Dracula book. I listened to a book cheat with Dave Warnicki on it, and by going by his podcast, I'd say it's a pretty good adaptation. I have to go back to, like I said, about the director's opinion of it. This is kind of a more fairy tale version of the story. But I did, though, go back and watch the original 1922 Nosferatu. And I will say, as an adaptation of that movie, easy thumbs up. It's a wonderful recreation while still bleeding a lot of the atmosphere from the original movie. And kind of that whole what the directors would have made if they could make it with our technology. So overall, I would say Nosferatu is a 4-star movie with 3 full stars and 2 half stars, and a thumbs up in adaptation. Moving on, I'd like to go to the other movie I watched in 2024, and that's Sonic 3. It's a Jim Carrey movie. I love Jim Carrey. I grew up watching The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, all of his classic films. I even watched some of the ones where, like, I remember vividly Mr. Popper's Penguins. So I always allow them to kind of be what they are. But giving Sonic the treatment of my star reviews, I would have to say writing didn't blow me away. I have a problem with movies that are, if it's a bad movie, it'll shock me with what it does, because it's like, why'd you do what? And that's entertaining in its own way. And if it's a good movie, I don't know what's coming because it's a good movie. They're taking me for a ride. This is my least favorite kind of movie, where I can see them set up and then I have to watch them flounder for a bit so they can pay it off. Where you know the ending of the movie just by the way they did the beginning of the movie. And so writing, I can't give this a star at all. Acting, I'm going to end up giving the movie a gold star, actually. I find the energy between the 3 main players of Team Sonic to be uplifting and real fun and entertaining. While the movie suffers from some of the human performances, I think every actor who's told to be this larger-than-life cartoon character really brings the energy that's needed for those kind of roles without being grating. Can't say the same thing, on the other hand, for Jim Carrey and his dual roles as Junior and Senior, I want to say Doofenshmirtz, Robotnik. The meta jokes and I'm not sure who he's written for. Because, he makes references to Green Lantern and Comic-Con, so it feels like it's aimed at me, the adult watching the movie. I didn't hear my 13-year-old brother-in-law laughing too hard at some of the more fourth wall breaking jokes. I just don't get it. Yeah, I'm still gonna give this movie a star for acting, just because that was the only thing really keeping me going. For sound design, I'm gonna give this half a star. Genuinely, some of my favorite parts of the last 2 Sonic films were their soundtracks, and I felt like this one just didn't hit the same. I easily could be persuaded to giving this a star. I think it comes down to my enjoyment of the soundtracks of the last two films. That why I just didn't enjoy this one too much. But as of right now, just half a star. Visually, this movie is not unattractive. I'm not so in love with the neon coloring that's been around since Suicide Squad and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. It sometimes when it's a bright green and a bright yellow and all, it just becomes too much. Thor, Ragnarok, and Love and Thunder kind of suffer from these problems. But I feel like they dial it back just enough, and it's usually because everything is color coded. Less so when you're in the, was it Gun or Gum? Their version of Shield. Uh, that's where it got a little grating on me visually, but overall, the movie is quick to make you forget that you're watching a bunch of cartoon characters interact with the real world. So I would say I do want to give the visuals a full star. Now for just how I personally felt about the movie, and it's not my favorite Sonic movie. I think really it came down to if someone were to ask me to rewatch this one or rewatch the first one, I'd probably be more likely to go back and rewatch the first Sonic movie. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this a half a star. It never annoyed me. I never felt like I needed to walk up and get out of the theater. I was entertained. It got a chuckle out of me. I would say personally, I'll give it half a star. So overall, Sonic 3 gets 3 stars. 2 fulls, 2 halves. Thank you for staying to the end of the video. If you did, please leave a comment under the video about your favorite song by this band. If it's also my favorite song by that band, I'll pin it on the top of the comments. This is my outro song. That's it. That's the end of it.